Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of Katy G TV. I'm Katy Gostaspi, and today's episode is all about being direct versus being brash and which one's better for your brand. I think you can guess where we're going with this. So you know I always bring my own life stories to all my client engagements and to these TV episodes. I'm a very direct person, but I've never thought of myself as brash. Is it good to be direct? Let's talk about it. I had a colleague of mine stop about 2 years ago into my office one day, and he said, "Hey, I have a quandary I want to discuss with you." "Sure," I said. So it turns out that his wife had applied for a position and they had turned her down, and she couldn't understand why they had given the job to somebody else. So he was asking me, he said, "You know the company, why do you suppose they gave the job to someone else?" And I didn't know his wife or the qualifications, so I said to him, "Well, here's some ideas, but why don't you and your wife go and ask the people that you interviewed with? It's common practice that you go and you say, 'Hey, how come I didn't get the job?'" And he put his hands on his hips and he looked at me and he said, "Well, maybe you would do that because you're brash, but my wife and I would not do that." And I was kind of taken aback, my friends, and I was like, "Oh, okay." It was just a suggestion that instead of you and I trying to guess what they're thinking, just go ask them why she didn't get the job so she knows and she's prepared for next time. So when he left, I really started to think, I'd never been called brash before. And was that kind of a action-oriented approach that I thought was direct communication? Was it brash or was it direct communication? Here's the deal. In society, we're all passive communicators. None of us really wants to go out there and really directly confront a situation and confront people and communicate. So we're passive. Either that or we're passive aggressive, where we err on the other side and we become really aggressive towards people while leaning backwards. That's a problem. Direct people like me are okay looking you in the eye and confronting you, not in a bad way, not in a New York City cab driver kind of confront, but in a healthy way and going, "Hey, let's have a conversation, let's communicate, let's connect." But other people get very uncomfortable with that. So when they interact with direct people like me, they think we're trying to exploit them or we're being pushy or we want something from them, when in fact direct people are not trying to do that. We're just trying to communicate, and we're okay confronting you and looking you in the eye and having a sincere conversation. Here's the deal though, for us direct people, there's a way of being direct that is effective in communication, and there's a way of being direct which is not good for your brand and it looks brash. So effective communication is one part directness, looking you directly in the eye and being able to confront you and hold the space with you. Plus, you must be kind in your communication. What does that mean to be kind in your communication? That's really up to you to decide. For me, it's having compassion, putting myself in the other person's shoes and thinking to myself, perhaps they don't choose the same perspective on this topic as I do, but we can still confront and have a direct, sincere conversation. That's the distinction. If you're just direct, you might be seen as brash, but if you're direct plus kind, you're always going to have effective communication. What does this mean for you? Stop and consider. When was the last time you were able to have direct communication with family, friends, your spouse, colleagues, your boss? Were you able to confront them and look them in the eye and say your piece and listen to them with kindness? Or were you being passive? Or worse, passive aggressive? What's one thing you can implement to make sure your communication is effective and your brand really shines by being direct and kind? Because in the end, direct communication that's kind is those that we want for our brand, because that's what people respond to, react to, and like. So if any of this message resonated in this episode, please consider sharing it with others so they can learn too. If you have a question about this topic and want to talk to me about it, click the button in this video and let's set up a time to talk, just you and me, and continue growing your brand. And until next time, Katy G out.